Hello, welcome to Timorous Mistrust. We are going to be reading a story, but first we are going to be reading Bible, and then we're going to be doing the synopsis, and then we're going to be reading the Pilgrim's Progress. I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to like button, subscribe, and hit the bell to never miss another video. Did you know that I can go? Okay, so here is my dad to do the live stream.
Hello.
Dad.
Hello, how are you today? All right, we're on chapter 14 of the book of Exodus. This is the English Standard Version. Let me begin. In a minute, when the rest of my children come back. Okay, let me begin. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the people of Israel to turn back and encamp in front of Pi-hahiroth," whatever that is, between Midgal and the sea, in front of Baal-zephon. You shall encamp facing it by the sea, for Pharaoh will say of the people of Israel, they are wandering in the land. The wilderness has shut them in, and I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will pursue them. And I will get glory over Pharaoh and all his host. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, and they did so. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, the mind of Pharaoh and his servants was changed toward the people. And they said, "What is this we have done, that we have let Israel go from serving us?" So he made ready his chariot, and took his army with him, and took 600 chosen chariots, and all the other chariots of Egypt, with officers over all of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the people of Israel, while the people of Israel were going out defiantly. The Egyptians pursued them, all Pharaoh's horses and chariots, and his horsemen, and his army, and overtook them, and encamped at the sea by Pi-hahiroth, in front of Baal-zephon. When Pharaoh drew near, the people of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them, and they feared greatly. And the people of Israel cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Is it because there were no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us in bringing us out of Egypt? Is this not what we said to you in Egypt? Leave us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians. For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness." And Moses said to the people, "Fear not, stand firm, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent." The Lord said to Moses, "Why do you cry to me? Tell the people of Israel to go forward. Lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, that the people of Israel may go through the sea on dry ground. And I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, so that they shall go in after them, and I will get glory over Pharaoh and all his host, his chariots and his horsemen, and the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gotten glory over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen." Then the angel of God, who was going before the host of Israel, moved and went behind them, and the pillar of cloud moved from before them and stood behind them, coming between the host of Egypt and the host of Israel. And there was the cloud and the darkness, and it lit up the night without one coming near the other all night. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord drove the sea back by a strong east wind all night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. And the people of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground, the waters being a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. The Egyptians pursued and went in after after them into the midst of the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And in the morning watch, the Lord in the pillar of fire and of cloud looked down on the Egyptian forces and threw the Egyptian forces into a panic, clogging their chariot wheels so that they drove heavily. And the Egyptians said, "Let us flee from before Israel, for the Lord fights for them against the Egyptians." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea, that the water may come back upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen." So Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its normal course when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled into it. The Lord threw the Egyptians into the midst of the sea. The waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen of all the host of Pharaoh that had followed them into the sea. Not one of them remained. But the people of Israel walked on dry ground through the sea, the waters being a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day from the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Israel saw the great power that the Lord used against the Egyptians. So the people feared the Lord, and they believed in the Lord and in his servant Moses. But wait, there will be complaining coming soon. That is the end of chapter 14, however. All right, so I want to point out the irony that is in verse 11. It says, "They said to Moses, 'Is it because there are no graves in Egypt?'" Of course, Egypt is known for its graves, the great pyramids, of course. Is it because there are no graves? That is irony. The people are complaining. And then I want to just read one more thing real fast before my color is really going creepy. But I want to read one more thing really fast. And this one is really fast. So this is a psalm that is in the book of the Psalms. It's to the choir master of the sons of Korah. Korah was, if we read on in Numbers, I don't think he's mentioned in Exodus, but he's mentioned in Numbers. So he is with Moses when they're crossing the sea. And this is a psalm that he wrote according to Alamoth, a song. This is Psalm 46. "God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling, Selah. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of her, she shall not be moved. God will help her when morning dawns. The nations rage, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice, the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress, Selah. Come, behold the works of the Lord, how he has brought desolations on the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariots with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress, Selah. And so that is just a pairing that I sense whenever I read the story of the Exodus. It reminds me of that psalm. So something to keep in mind. And I apologize, just 1 minute. All right, so at this time, we are going to put our Bibles down for just a brief few moments until the next time that we read them. And so we're on chapter 13 of Pilgrim's Progress, bless you. And in the last chapter, Christian took the easiest road and had just such a dandy time. He picked wildflowers, and he basically went for a swim in the lake. And when he finally finished having just a fabulous time, he made it to the something special that he was going to. Here's Kimberly to say how it really happened.
So, what actually happened was these two people, they jumped a fence, and well, it was a wall. They jumped over a wall, and Christian was like, "Hey, you're not supposed to do that exactly," and they're like, "Nah, we do it every day. It's okay." So they go for a little while, and they were gonna go over this mountain, and like one of the paths was danger, I believe. Mm-hmm. The other was destruction, and the third one was hardship. I think it was hardship.
Sure.
So they're like, you know what? I have this great idea. I'm gonna go on the dangerous route. Okay? Because I don't want to go on the hard route. That sounds way, way worse than danger. The other one was like, yeah, same with destruction. You gotta find faults in their logic. Here's Dad, who's going to read us a story.
Danger, Will Robinson. All right,
We just finished the series.
All right, so here we are on chapter 13. This is called Timorous and Mistrust. Chapter 13, Timorous and Mistrust. I looked then after Christian to see him go up the hill, where I perceived he fell from running to going, and from going to clambering upon his hands and his knees, because of the steepness of the place. Now about the midway to the top of the hill was a pleasant arbor, made by the Lord of the hill for the refreshment of weary travelers. Thither, therefore, Christian got, where also he sat down to rest him. Then he pulled his roll out of his bosom, and read therein to his comfort. He also now began afresh to take a review of the coat or garment that was given to him as he stood by the cross. Thus pleasing himself a while, he at last fell into a slumber, and thence into a fast sleep, which detained him in that place until it was almost night. And in his sleep his roll fell out of his hand. Now as he was sleeping, there came one to him, and awakened him, saying, Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise. And with that, Christian suddenly started up, and sped him on his way, and went apace till he came to the roof of the hill. Now when he was got up to the top of the hill, there came two men running amain. The name of the one was Timorous, and the other Mistrust, to whom Christian said, Sirs, what's the matter? You run the wrong way. Timorous answered, that they were going to the city of Zion, and had got up that difficult place. But, said he, the farther we go, the more danger we meet with. Wherefore we turned, and are going back again. Yes, said Mistrust, for just before us lie a couple of lions in the way, whether sleeping or waking we know not, and we could not think if we came within reach, but they would presently pull us to pieces. Christian. Then, said Christian, you make me afraid, but whither shall I fly to be safe? If I go back to mine own country, that is prepared for fire and brimstone, and I shall certainly perish there. If I can get to the celestial city, I am sure to be in safety there. I must venture. To go back is nothing but death. To go forward is fear of death, and life everlasting beyond it. I will yet go forward. So Mistrust and Timorous ran down the hill, and Christian went on his way. But thinking again of what he had heard from the men, he felt in his bosom for his roll, that he might read therein and be comforted. But he felt and found it not. Then went Christian in great distress and knew not what to do, for he wanted that which used to relieve him, and that which should have been his pass into the celestial city. Here, therefore, he began to be much perplexed, and knew not what to do. At last he bethought himself that he had slept in the arbor that is on the side of the hill, and falling down upon his knees, he asked God forgiveness for that foolish act, and then went back to look for his roll. But all the way he went back, who can sufficiently set forth the sorrow of Christian's heart? Sometimes he sighed, sometimes he wept, and ofttimes he chided himself for being so foolish to fall asleep in that place, which was erected only for a little refreshment from his weariness. Thus, therefore, he went back, carefully looking on this side and on that, all the way as he went, if happily he might find his roll that had been his comfort so many times on his journey. He went thus till he came again in sight of the arbor, where he sat and slept, but that sight renewed his sorrow the more, by bringing again, even afresh, his evil of sleeping into his mind. Thus, therefore, he now went on bewailing his sinful sleep, saying, O wretched man that I am, that I should sleep in the daytime, that I should sleep in the midst of difficulty, that I should so indulge the flesh as to use that rest for ease to my flesh, which the Lord of the hill hath erected only for the relief of the spirit of pilgrims. How many steps have I taken in vain? Thus it happened to Israel. For their sin, they were sent back again by the way of the Red Sea, and I am made to tread those steps with sorrow, which I might have trod with delight, had it not been for this sinful sleep. How far might I have been on my way by this time? I am made to tread those steps thrice over, which I needed not to have trod but once. Yea, now also I like to be benighted, for the day is almost spent. Oh, that I had not slept. Chapter 14 is called Porter and Discretion. The first word is now, and now I'm going to close for the end of this live stream, but I promise I did not time out the Feast of Unleavened Bread that we had yesterday, and the mention of the Red Sea that we had today, which wasn't exactly the story, but still very interesting that it would be mentioned like this. All right, so I'm going to leave you and bid you adieu, and I hope that you have a great night. God bless you, and have a great night. I just said that. All right, bye.